I have a little, my little friend I have here. Um, this is, I don't know if you can read it or not, methyl ionone gamma 85. It sounds like an evil chemical. No, not the case. Um, this here is an alpha ionone. It's basically a material taken from iris, orris root, and violet flowers. I'm going to take a little of this material here and smell it for you, do a little sniff test. I don't have much left. I need to order some more. Okay, this is a powdery material. It's kind of a very neutral scent. It smells woody. Okay, it smells floral. It smells like flowers. It smells like woods. It's powdery. It smells almost like baby powder. And it's very often used for its texture. And it even smells a little bit rooty. They can blend woods and flowers together. They can blend rooty materials with woods and flowers. Violet materials, they're also very creamy. And the better the quality, the material, the creamier it is. So it smells a bit like baby powder, slightly dry roots, and it's got a sweet facet to it as well. Think of if you take a potato and you cut it in half, like a raw potato, and you smell it. The smell is not sharp. It's not bright like a lemon, or it's not like pine needles. It's not sharp. It's very, very starchy and dull and earthy. This is kind of what iris orris powder or alpha ionone smells like, or beta ionone smells like. It's got this earthy, flat sort of scent, a little bit like boiled carrots. In fact, there's a related material, a very powdery, earthy material called carrot seed essential oil, which is very similar to these ionones. Okay, about violets and iris materials. These violet materials and iris materials, they are dominated by three types of molecules. The first is alpha ionone, second is the beta ionone, and the beta dihydroionone. And these three molecules, they make up about 75% of the scent of fresh violet flowers. This one here that I have in my hand, this one is a very high quality alpha ionone. This one is a methyl ionone gamma. So this is a very pure ionone, very often used in making flower accords. Now I'll read something taken from the Perfumer and Flavorist magazine online. This is what somebody, a famous perfumer, wrote. He said, Chanel number 19 is by far the most superb illustration of the beauty of Orris, a splendid fragrance that has been engraved in me since childhood, says Daniel Andrier. While I'm always uncomfortable with preferences for any material, I confess my deep love for Orris. Orris is the butter material crafted from the bulbs of certain iris plants. Okay, in perfumery there are like a couple holy materials, extremely expensive, extremely sought after materials. You have like real deer musk, which is thousands of dollars, ambergris, basically whale poop. It's extremely expensive. And you have iris, this material I'm speaking about, or orris butter, extremely expensive. It's like $7,000 for 1 pound. And then you have maybe agar wood, which is also very, very expensive. So you have the three types of alpha ionone. You have the alpha ionone, beta ionone, beta dihydroionone. So you have three types of ionones, and then three different parts of the iris and violet plants that are celebrated. The most celebrated part of the plant is definitely the orris root, the roots of the iris plant. It's extremely expensive. I don't have any. I may never have any. I don't know. But it's I've smelt some real orris root. It's absolutely amazing. And then there are the flowers of the violet plant. Okay. And perfumers craft or create their own versions. They create accords, renditions of violet flowers. And then there is the leaves, and you can purchase something called Violet Leaf Absolute, which is a very, very green material. So, for example, if you make a perfume and if to your senses it doesn't smell naturalistic enough, you can add a tiny bit of this Violet Absolute, and it smells basically like vegetation. It's very cool and a very green, soft material. Very nice. It's not sharp. Violet Leaf Absolute. The violet flowers, the scent of violet flowers, crafted by perfumers. And then you have the Orris Butter, which is extremely expensive. There are about 250 species of iris, and there's only mostly two materials that are used for their root. That's the Iris padilla, which is cultivated in Florence. And then there's the Iris germanica, which is grown in Morocco. And I'll read something here from Ayala Moriel's website. The iris root needs to be peeled and aged for 3 years before extraction or distillation. During this time, the sugars in the rhizomes, right, in the roots, in the root ball, gradually metabolize into irones, right? The violet molecule that gives orris roots its desired violet blossom aroma. So you have to grow. Basically, you have to grow the iris flowers for 3 years, for 3 seasons, and then the farmer goes out in the field and he takes them out of the ground, and then he peels the roots, and he uses a tiny little knife and does it by hand, and then he chops the roots up and he dries them. It takes about 1,000 tons of fresh iris to make 300 tons after they're dried, and from 300 tons of powder, you get 600 kilos of orris butters. So you go from 1,000 tons to about half a ton of orris butter. And the process takes at least 6 years. This is why 1 pound of orris root butter is like $7,000, okay? These three materials, the alpha ionone and the beta ionone and the dihydro beta ionone, they blend with all sorts of different materials. They blend with various types of woods. They blend well with vetiver, with roses. They can blend with nearly anything in perfumery. So basically, if you take if I take some, it's a rose essential oil, and then next to it I drop some alpha ionone beside it, then I get a powdery rose, right? Or if I craft a perfume and I drop a couple drops of alpha or beta ionone, it just makes the perfume softer, buttery, more buttery, and more powdery. And then the very high quality ionones, entire perfumes are crafted around the scent of these molecules or this very high quality butter, and the material itself is celebrated. For example, Chanel number 12 is pretty much a celebration of orris butter. Okay, go out and buy some or smell it. You can smell nice powdery, rooty, but also floral notes within it. Okay, go out and buy yourself some methyl Ionone gamma, or any type of Ionone material, or if you're feeling really generous, send me some Orris Butter. That would be like the greatest thing in the universe. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome day. Bye. From Vancouver.